is learning how to work with shears. So I've created a little piece which I will show you a bit close up in a minute. And I just wanted to check with you all that you've got a pack or you've got access to fabric. Yeah, it's all okay. Brilliant. And obviously, this is a technique that you can all use afterwards. So if you've got other bits of sheer fabric and so on that you want to incorporate, or you want to do another one, then this is showing you the techniques, and then you can go on from there. It's an opportunity as well to work with fabrics that perhaps you don't normally work with, and I find it quite nice because it's quite delicate but substantial. So hopefully in your packs you have got a piece of organdie, which is like the stiff white base fabric that we're going to use, and this is a woven fabric which has been slightly stiffened with a finish to it. So this is going to be the base of your work. So I'm just going to put you on now to the little visualizer. So if you just bear with me 1 minute, and then I'll have to show you. So does that, yeah, see that okay? Home. So the concept for today is we're going to make the background for this piece of work, and I'm going to talk you through what we're going to do in terms of creating the little leaf patterns that are going to go on it. Now, I've been out on a walk and in the garden, but don't tell my husband that I've nicked a bit of what's it, because we're supposed to stay in the garden. But I've got a little bit of eucalyptus, which is what I based my original design on. But I also found this really lovely oak leaf. And I also found, and I don't know what these are called, there's a lovely little leaf here that I found, and there's another one there. These have started to wrinkle slightly, but I have found if you put them under a bit of tracing paper and iron them, they go flat again. So there's a theme of using something that is a leaf or a sprig or whatever. I do think that, you know, if you want to, you don't have to use leaves, but I think they're quite a straightforward one just to practice with. So you've got your, there's my organdie on the back. So what I'd like you to do is to lay down your piece of organdie. I'll just move that out of the way now so you can see I've put that down. And then with the sheer fabrics that I've put in, so you've got some that are kind of nice and wispy, yeah, these types of things. And I'd like you to put them down onto the fabric in a way that they overlap with each other. So you can use the colours that you like. I think you can either go very, very wispy, or you can put fabrics together that have a little bit of density. So some of the material in your pack is more like this. So it's like a sari weight fabric. So here's another little one I've kind of put together. So I've used a little bit of this sort of sari colour, and then I've put layers of the organza on the top, which is a nylon organza. It's not a silk one, but obviously, you know, should you want, you can always use silk. And then I've kind of left an area here where I've just put, I've cut one of the squares of organza in half and then layered them up twice over, just to give it a little bit of density. And then these little overlaps, so if I go back to the original one, you know, give you that a sense of a stripe going through the middle, just to create a little background effect. And the leaves are applied afterwards. Okay, so we're really just getting to a point where we've got something that we can put onto the organza that you find pleasing. Okay, and I think just spend a few minutes doing that now, till you sort of feel like it's really working for you. Let me know if you want me to, or you want to ask the group, you know, what they think. If you want that, if you don't, that's fine. But you can, you know, literally kind of create by just changing the formation. So you see there, I've created a new stripe by just moving a bit of the organza over, so it's not quite as dense on the left hand side, and then pin it down and just make sure that, you know, you're kind of happy with it. It doesn't matter at this stage if your fabrics overlap the organdie rather, because you know that can always be cut back. So just have a play with it. And in a sense, what you're doing here is you're making some of your own original fabric. So it's got a nice sense of freedom to the whole thing. Are there any? No, I've just explained that little bit. If you want to come on off and talk, then please do. Just let me know if there's anything I can do to help you.
Which pieces of fabric here will we be using for the actual leaf?
So the leaves that I've done on mine, I've used the thicker,
the denser
one, which is the more the sari. But there's nothing stopping you having a little bit of sari in your background. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So don't worry about that. Yeah. Depends on how wispy and gossamery you want it to be. Sorry, Sue.
I'm just wondering how many layers, and would you cut any of them or just lay them as they are?
You can cut them. I've cut some of mine in half and just laid them on. So some of the organza here is half pieces, yeah, which I've then laid on. So that one's got, if you have a little look on the side, there's my organdie, and I've got one layer of organza and then another layer on top. Yeah, okay. But I cut my piece in half just to make it a little bit more depth to the whole thing.
Okay.
How many colours will we need for the leaves?
You can use 3 colours. It's quite nice, you know, if you think about using odd numbers of things. So I have also, and I'll get to this point about how to actually make the templates, but I have also got one of these oak leaves, yeah, and I've got 3 layers of fabric for that, because I'm going to put 3 leaves on it, but you're able just to put 1 leaf on and it's not a problem. So, or you might say, I'd like one that's a bigger leaf and one's a smaller leaf, or whatever it is that you've chosen, and we'll see how we get on with that, because today the main purpose is to get your background fabric sorted. So obviously if I just put this back on again, you see this, so my background is much paler than my foreground, which has got the leaves on it. Yeah. But also remember, let's go a bit closer up, focus, I've also got stitching on those, which will also change how the whole thing looks as well.
Right.
Okay. And if you've done silk painting and things, some little bits of silk would be nice in this. You know, I'm thinking moving forward. So things that are very kind of gossamery fabrics work really nicely with this technique. And I quite like the fact that you're kind of having the chance to make a whole piece of fabric, which is always exciting, because there won't be another one like it. So that's really, kind of exciting, really. Are there any questions, or everybody all right with that?
I thought it would cut. It doesn't. Is it me? It cuts about as straight as a fiddler's elbow.
Yeah, don't worry about that. We're going to call that organic.
Oh, right, okay. That's fine.
It'll be fine.
I thought, this is weird.
No, it's if I said to you, I've had to kind of put these packs together, and you can see that they're not totally straight, but they were hammered down and cut and everything. But yeah, just I wouldn't worry too much, because
yeah,
it's very, it's not going to be prescriptive, this. The other thing that is quite nice at this time of year as well is, if you've got, it's quite easy to get hold of red stuff, so I have got a bit of red organza that I found, and again, you can, if you place that kind of underneath, can you see you can tone it? So I'm just thinking, you might think, oh, this potentially could be a Christmas, card, or a little something for, you know, or a little, you could scale it down and make a little brooch out of it. You could add hints of red. The organza I managed to find in Dunelm, but you can get it online, because I think that's the way we're going to have to be moving forward. They also, at great expense, do make little packs that you can get as well online, but they are quite expensive, I think, for what they are.
Philippa, is that too even? And
no, that's fine. That'll be lovely, because remember on this one, Rosemary, you're going to put your leaves on the top.
yeah, are we
So-
supposed to be folding the edges in?
Don't
Or
worry
just
about
leave
that.
them raw?
Yeah,
Okay.
leave them raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's very organic, isn't it, today? It's like,
Yeah.
So, how's everybody? Is that all feeling okay for everybody? Yeah, happy. Yeah, lovely.
It's getting more checky than stripy.
That's okay. If you think about it as being kind of a background that you're going to put something on, all you're doing is you're creating something for the main players, which are going to be your leaves or your sprig of leaf or whatever. Yeah, so that's really, really good. Yeah, great, lovely. Okay, so it feels like we're there. So the next part of this is that we need to stabilize this background. So also in your pack there should be some threads. So on the one that I've done, I've used some little feather stitches on mine, and I've also used, I don't know if you can just see on this little, whoops, this little bit here, I've done long and short running stitches. So I'll go a bit, I don't know if it's going to focus enough. So what you need to do is, if you imagine you've got your lines of fabric, so you need to sort of stabilize through them. So just take a needle and thread, and then do some stitches, so you can go long, short, yeah, and then pull through. So hopefully, yeah, so you kind of create, so if I go back to this one, you're creating some texture in the back, and this is an opportunity really to start playing with the colours that you've got in your threads. And this one here, I've done it and then put another layer over the top of it. I don't know if you can see that. So I started off with a sort of grey colour, and then I put a turquoisey colour over the top, and you could do that again. So what you're trying to do is to build up texture now with your threads, but it's also holding the fabric together. So that's the next bit. So does that feel all right for everybody? There's absolutely nothing wrong about just doing running stitch. Yeah, it's as valid a stitch as any of them. And you might just want to get to a point where you've used the running stitch to stabilize, and then you can take your pins out, and then you could add to it with some more of the variety of stitches. And sometimes it looks really nice if you do a row and then do an offset row. So come back and just to the side of it, fill in where, go make the stitch where the gap is in the row before. So you can create little bits of texture here. And obviously you can use whatever colours you want on this, but I've found it's quite nice to stay with a similar palette of colour, so that it all keeps that lovely kind of gentle gossamery look to it. Does that feel okay for everybody? Just let me know if it's not okay. So we'll just spend now, you know, a good sort of half an hour doing this, so we can have a bit of a, if you want to chat about stuff, or just anything good that you've seen in anything, or the textile world, or so we could just come out of the mute if you want to. you can ask any questions. That'd be great. And going back to this idea as well with the odd numbers. So I've done 2 rows now of the stitching. So I think I'm going to do a 3rd row just to make it look better to the eye. We seem to, as humans, identify with odd numbers.
Can I just say thank you to Jane J for messaging about the Flog It programme last week. She messaged me about the Framework Knitters Museum at Ruddington.
Ah, yes, I think I saw that. Did you? Was it good?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't. I don't usually watch that, but yeah, because Jane messaged that it was there.
Mm.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't realise that it made it sound in the programme that you know, the Luddites. They made it sound like it started there.
Oh right.
So
Has everybody been to the frame knitters at Ruddington? It's a really, yeah, because Denise, you've been, haven't you?
I haven't been. No, I
No.
want to go, but obviously I can't now because it's all shut.
Yes. They're just about to set up, and they've bought another building, another cottage. So they've got the original workshops there that you can go and visit, and you can go and see the machinery and the noise of the machinery working, and it's horrendous. They worked as a community and a cooperative really, and they all live around the site of the actual workshops, and they've got a couple of cottages there that they've set up as they would have been, and also have a really sweet little tea room there with mixed match china cups and saucers and homemade cakes, and you know, total destination place once we get through this next part. And they've got a lovely little cottage garden, and it's really sweet. And we had a bit of a chat from the guy who is the curator and director there, and he was telling us about it was the Parkers, wasn't it, Denise and Jane?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. And there was a woman, Hannah Parker, who met her husband, who was the owner of that, or his family were the owner of Ruddington, in America, because he'd gone out there to teach people how to do frame knitting. And was it Philadelphia? I think it might have been. Anyway, she came from Philadelphia, and anyway, they got married. And then she came back and he had to come and run the factory. And there's some amazing photographs of her standing outside in the Ruddington garden by a little picket fence. So it's almost like she brought the picket fence from America to back to Ruddington. And they also had a pig on site as well. So they would do this sort of, you know, have a pig for the pot, if you like, for the whole community. So a bit like Rise to Candleford in lots of different ways. But it's a fascinating insight into how small the cottages were, and also just the minimalist way that obviously folk lived in that time. And then they've also got a chapel, and the chapel, they were a religious group, and the chapel was built next to where the cottages are. And that is now an area where people can go and work, learn and have meetings and so on. And then upstairs they've got loads and loads of pull-out drawers of socks through the generations. So I think they start from Queen Victoria's stocking with the chevening embroidery on the back of them, all the way through to sort of today's socks, but going through the 60s and all the psychedelic, and yeah, and then there's punk socks. And it's a really, you just pull out these drawers and then you're presented with another set of socks. So yeah, really interesting. So what were they saying, Denise, then about the Luddites then?
Yeah, no, they only briefly mentioned it because obviously, you know, but he just said he's showing you some of the the stockings that they'd made there.
Mm.
But my understanding was that the guy Ned Ludd, I think his name was, I thought he was Leicester based. And it just made it sound, I'm sure he said that it started there, but I thought it was further north, to be honest. But no, it was interesting. It makes you want to go and see it, especially when you know that, you know, we've had a little few dealings with it, really, with the common threads and that. So,
So how's everybody doing? Are you feeling-
Philippa,
Yeah.
some of the threads are thicker. Does it mean that goes on a different piece of material or not?
Not necessarily.
No, that's fine.
So it's really up to you what thicknesses you use. So if I go back to this one here and so this one I've just done a sort of feather stitch down the middle, and then this one I did 2 strands together, Jane, just to make it a bit thicker because I wanted to bring that leaf further forward. So that would be the reason for doing thicker stuff, is almost like to bring the work further forward. However, having said that, this little area here, which has got the running stitch on it and is in the grey, that bit has got a leaf over the top of it, so that knocks it back anyway. So that's what I'm saying, it doesn't actually matter too much.
Right, okay, lovely. Thank you.
And I'm just trying to remember if there were any stranded threads that I put into your packs. I'm not sure if I did, but if I did, then you could split those down and do 1 or 2 threads depending on, you know.
Right. I've not got those.
No, I think I did that in the next pack because I was so yeah.
Okay,
It's great.
thank you.
So as you work it, it should start to feel like it's less of a wispy, untangible thing to hold on to.
Are we just stitching down the seams or over the whole lot?
Just down the seams to start with, and then I'm just threading up a needle, and then we can have a little look at some of these other stitches. So I've just done a couple of rows. I don't know if you can. I've done some rows, for stitching, just running stitches, just to stabilise that area, and then let's have a little look at one of the stitches. Does anybody have a particular love of any of the stitches?
Sorry, what did you say?
Does anybody have a particular love for one of the stitches?
Oh,
I love fly stitch.
Yeah.
Fly stitch. Okay.
I've just done that one.
Right. Now, I'm just wondering, is everybody happy with fly stitch, or would you like me to show you it?
I'm just doing it
I
as
think I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can use then the stitches to create and do the seams as well if you want to. I've just found that it's easier if you get a couple stitched down with running stitch. It then enables you to kind of get it a bit more stable, and then you can start to.
I've just realised I'm drifting off on the fly stitch. It's all going one way, so,
Okay.
moving to the right. So I'm coming back, and I'll just do running stitch at the moment.
Yeah, that's fine. The thing with fly stitch, and I think I've said about friction pens before.
Yes.
So one of these little friction pens in a supermarket near you, they iron off. Yeah, so you can draw onto them. It's what the kids use for rubbing out their mistakes in school, and I find that's quite useful. So with fly stitch, it's quite good to draw 2 lines, and then it gives you 2 parallel lines if you want it to be that straight. But again, as we're doing more organic today, it doesn't actually matter, because it's rather nice just to let it kind of meander. And just remember, with any of these stitches, you can change the length of them. You can change how close together they are. Always remember that you can overlay them with another layer of stitches. So lots and lots of really nice things just to play with. And I don't know if you're like me, but you know, if you've done silk painting, you'll have lovely little bits of silk, I would imagine, that's still around. I think this would be a really nice method to use some of the bits, especially if you put a little bit of organza over the top. It just kind of really makes it nice and muted. So you see on there, I'm just taking it for a bit of a meander. So there's my little fly stitch coming down. You could, if you wanted to, do some detached ones as well. So don't feel like they can be just dotted around the place. Is everybody happy with what I mean by detaching it? Yeah. Just let me know if you're not, and I'll give you.
No, I'm not.
Right. Okay, that's fine. So when you come to do a fly stitch, if you come up and go across, and then come down on the diagonal, roughly between the two, like you would normally do the fly stitch, you can just do it like that, and then add another stitch somewhere over. And one of the nice things about this is you can put a long tail on it, or you could just put a little tail on it like that.
You could dot them about.
Yeah, you can dot them out. So you see on there.
Yeah.
So this is the #1 way to make seagulls. Okay. So if you're ever wanting to make birds for any of your embroideries, then that's what I'd go for. But it's a very versatile stitch. And actually, another thing I could just show you as well. Just going to thread up some more thread. So when you're finished, just turn it over to the back, and then you can just cast it off that way. Just getting it into the organdie is absolutely fine. I'm just
Where
going
did you get your organdie from, Philippa?
I have to get it online, and I get it from, I think it's on eBay actually. I don't know if I bored you with this, but last year I went to the Festival of Quilts, and I did a workshop based on Korean patchwork, and that was the way forward for me. I just thought, oh, this is really interesting. And so, yeah, the organdie I found online because I can get it, in lots of different colours. So, yeah.
Where's the best place to get lining for the masks?
I get sort of the cotton lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether, I mean, obviously it's very difficult now because I think they had some on the market. But with the cotton masks, Liberty fabric, weight, you can buy them in plain, white or cream,
Right.
by the metre.
Yeah.
And then it's using the interfacing as the extra 2 layers.
Yes.
So yeah.
Medium weight one.
Yeah, so you want a cotton lawn basically.
Yeah.
And that's the most densely woven, so that it acts as the best sort of,
Yeah. Thank you.
what's the word? Filtration.
Alice Caroline
Yes.
and Fabrics Galore do Liberty, and they do some sale lawn.
Yeah.
If you're not worried about pattern.
Yeah. That's good.
Alice Caroline, and what else was it?
Alice Caroline.
Fabrics Galore.
Fabrics Galore.
It's great, Jill. Thank you.
I also think Liberty have had a fabric sale recently. I don't know if it's still on.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
Mhm.
When I made mine, I used an old pillowcase for the lining.
Mm.
That's good.
Okay.
How many layers are you doing in your mask?
There's It'll be 3.
Three.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying to me as well, when you're making the masks, the test is that if you can't blow a candle out through it with it on, then that's a good sign.
Right.
But my sister found a really good pattern on the internet from America, where you actually measure your face and then work out the size that you need. And I think that's been really good. I've made a load for teachers at school, because they were all finding it just too oppressive having it on all the time. And it's got a little metal bar that goes in across the top of the nose as well. There's a pocket for it.
Another possible one, and the one I used was from, if you've come across Tilly and the Buttons.
Oh yes, yeah.
And she has an online, if you look for her on YouTube, she tells you how to make them. Now hers has straps rather than elastic. So if your ears are hurting from elastics, then it has straps that you tie around your head. I made them like that, but I also adjusted it once and made them with elastic too, so you can do that.
That's
and
good.
Pleated design.
Right.
Now, are you becoming a connoisseur of sterile hand sterilizer as well, though?
Yeah, the gritty ones. There's some real annoying.
Yes.
Oh,
You know you're in a posh shop when the steriliser by the front door is one of those ones made out of gin.
Sea salt. And I've actually bought a bottle. It's so nice. Gin and orange it smells of.
Yeah.
I think it's Tarquin
If in
gin.
doubt, you can drink it when you get desperate.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's the foot operated hand sanitizers that drive me mad. They get more on your feet than you do on.
You've been in some posh shops. I've not seen a foot operated one.
Oh, they were all out. They were in. National Trust has got a few of them.
Iceland at Elphiston's got one of those.
How's everybody doing?
Okay.
grand.
Oh, it's raining. It's gone a bit dark.
No.
And bright where we are.
Oh, and I've took the curtain. Can't see anymore.
Not raining in Belfast yet.
Not raining in Belper yet. That'll be next week.
Yes.
Had some floods in Yorkshire again, haven't they?
Have they?
Yeah. All that. And Carmarthenshire as well, apparently.
Oh.
Wet Welsh Wales.
Well, we can't go if we wanted to, can we?
All right.
Not at the moment.
No.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Fine.
Good.
Slowly sewing,
Great.
which is nice.
So I'm just doing a little bit of a feather stitch on mine. Just so you.
Oh yeah.
So I've done one row, and I've started off being larger, and then I've gone down and made it smaller, and then I'm just putting another layer now over the top of it. So just, don't worry if you do, want to do that, because it actually, I think, adds a little bit of texture to the piece, and it also again helps to stabilize the fabric.
Yeah.
I'm doing the wrong thing.
And I don't think you could do this very easily if you didn't use the organdie underneath it. So
It would be too wobbly, wouldn't it?
it would. Thinking about it as well, if you don't have access to that, you could use interfacing.
Yeah.
That would work as well.
Or some starch cotton.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Philippa,
Hello.
I'm doing a chain stitch, but I'm doing that other chain stitch, and I've forgotten how to do it, even though I've just been doing the darn thing.
Okay.
I forgot.
Which one's that one?
Is it the backward one or something?
The twisted one?
Where you go through the loop itself and come down.
Oh yeah.
The detached one?
I don't know what it's called. It's a different version of the chain stitch.
I think, is it twisted chain?
Yeah.
Might
So
be.
you go to the side. Right, let me just set myself up and I'll just show you.
I've done a good 3 inches of it.
Oh,
Done
right,
a
okay.
piece of thread, and I can't think how to do it.
Just put it up to your camera a minute for me, Jane, and I'll just double check I'm on the right. Just come over to your right a bit.
You see it?
Not just trying to focus, I think, now. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, what is that one called? Good question.
Reverse? Backwards?
Yes, I think it is. Yeah, something along those lines. Just bear with me 1 minute.
I'll have to Google it. How ridiculous.
Maybe you just invented it.
No.
I might have to revert to my book then. Just bear with me.
Well, don't waste your time. I'll
No,
find it.
It's a nice one to remember, isn't it? Right. So
There you go.
you come up and then you go back round, don't you, the other way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you go down to the bottom, go back up and through. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I'm going crazy, I am.
No. It's,
You can't be any worse than the
this is my faithful Barbara Snook embroidery stitches, and the stitch that we're talking about is this one here called broad or reversed chain.
Oh gosh.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a much neater one than the old-fashioned chain.
So I can show you that one if you would like. So I'm going to put the book down, and then I've got a bit of thread here. So basically, you start off with, oops, put a knot in it would help. Hang on, bear with me. So you come up, and then you make one little vertical stitch.
Yeah.
Just to get yourself started, and then basically come along, make another stitch, and then you want to thread your needle through that vertical stitch to come round, oops, make a loop, and then back down the stitch you first came up. So you're literally going backwards.
Yes.
Okay, so make the stitch. And you can, if you want to, use the eye of the needle to go underneath. So you go under both of the loops there, bring it round, and then back down the stitch, the hole rather that you first came through. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Through there, around the back, and then back down the hole again. Okay, so you get quite a nice, so that's it.
Tidy.
Nice tidy little stitch.
Yes.
And you also can vary again the length of the stitches that you make on this one as well. So you could make it a longer stitch. Through there and come down. Okay, so you can vary the length of the stitches that you make. It's quite a peaceful one to do, actually. And as you all know, there's lots and lots of different chain stitches. So I want you to go out. You can adjust it if it's going a little bit too loopy, just tighten it up. Okay, so that is the broad. Yeah, so see, this is what we've been doing. We've been going through the obscure stitches of the world. So if you are ever looking for this book is quite nice, but it's not terribly good at explanations all the time. One that I found to be better is this one here, which is out of a crazy quilting book by J. Marsha Mitchell. And there's several things I like about the book. One is that it's got a ring thingy in it, which is really helpful. It's also got large numbers of stitches, and it usually has the left-handed version to it,
Good.
which I think is oftentimes a really useful thing to have. So yeah, it's still available, I believe. I've had this for quite a few, good decade, I think, if not longer. But I love the fact that it's got the variations on it, you know, so it's good. Even though it's out of a patchworking book, it's a lot of embroidery. So those are my go-to to start with kind of books. So how's everybody doing? Are you finding that all quite peaceful and
Yeah, just
okay?
stitching.
To give myself permission to do this sort of thing, you know, I don't always get on with it when I'm just at home. It's lovely.
I think at this time it's really
Excuse me a minute. I don't know who's ringing us on the landline. Is that
make sure that you have enough time just to have a bit of downtime, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I do think, you know, there's all the I'll just come back off my little camera for a minute. And I think it's really it's important as well, because you end up feeling better actually from making something.
Oh, definitely.
There's lots and lots of scientific backup for that. So
creative.
anything that we do with our hands, you know, whether it's baking or, I don't know, has anybody listened to the Nadia Hussein interview on the food programme? It's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
yeah, she was saying the same thing, wasn't she?
Yeah.
How therapeutic it is to just create something.
I love the story that she gave about coming from a Bangladeshi background where ovens aren't used, and going to her first ever domestic science, or whatever it's called now, class, and saying to the teacher, "But you've just switched the cupboard on." Having had no idea that ovens actually did anything, because everything was done on the stove. It was lovely. Yeah, so enthusiastic, isn't she, about her?
Yes.
What she's doing.
She wants to adopt children, doesn't she?
Oh, does she?
Yeah. She says she's got so much to offer.
Right.
Yeah, despite having her own little family, she's got lots of love and everything else to give other kiddies.
I think she's a very good ambassador.
She's a lovely lady.
Yeah, it's amazing how Bake Off turn up some fascinating people. I mean, she's the peak of it, but you know, there are some lovely people go through just who like baking and being in that way.
Yeah.
Can't work out this year's lot yet. Can anybody else work out this year's baking lot?
Mr. Perfect, isn't there, that's going to probably win at the moment?
Oh, you can. They sometimes fall, don't they?
Yes, they do, yes. Disastrously sometimes. But yes. Yes, Nadia said that her teacher had said, you're really good at baking, but she didn't value it at the time. She didn't really think it was worth going with, you know, so she went for more formal qualifications and then only came back into it, you know. And she said her whole, all the women in her family baked and did everything, and that she just felt that wasn't enough to strive to be a good cook, because that's what every woman in Bangladesh did do anyway, so why?
But they didn't use an oven, did they? She had to learn how to, because her mother never ever used an oven.
I wonder what, yes.
Were you listening to the food programme on Sunday? Is that there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently her mum didn't, because they cooked differently, didn't use an oven or something. The oven was, yeah.
It's going to be on, it's usually on a Monday afternoon as well. After we finish here, I think sometime, it's always Monday afternoon. I tend to catch it twice. Sometimes I catch it on Sunday and then I hear exactly the same on Monday afternoon.
Not got this very stable. What shall I do now?
I've started to go and do a bit of a walk, and so I listen to all these things I've not done.
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it?
So, yeah. It's good. How's everybody doing?
Slowly.
Thank you.
So what I'm thinking now is, obviously it would be good now to keep on working on this piece. Yeah, so I'll just have a couple of minutes just talking about the leaf moment, but I'm kind of working on the basis that could be done just as easily next time. But hopefully in your pack you have got a piece of tracing paper.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. It's a sort of paper that I think they use in architects, actually. I quite like, you know, but good old greaseproof will do the job. So it doesn't need to be anything more than that. And as I said to you, I used a little bit of eucalyptus to make my impression. Let's call it an impression. It's not a direct copy, but you can also, as I said, you could use oak leaves, or you might have a sprig of something in the garden that you like, or you might have a bird outline. You know, it doesn't have to be a leaf. It can be whatever you kind of like of your own. I've included in the pack some photocopy that I just downloaded, of some different leaves. So if you wanted to, you could use that. So there's a ginkgo there, and a little maple, and an oak leaf, and again some more eucalyptus. So you can either do something that's based off the internet or from life, or you might even find that you've got some little sprigs in the garden of, you know, dead flower heads or rose hips, or, you know, anything really. And the idea is that you're going to do a little tracing of your piece. I'm just gonna. So I cheated. Not cheated, I just used nature. Oops, broken part. So what I did is I just laid down my leaf like that, and then I just did a tracing around the leaf. Okay?
Yeah.
So, do you see that? Yeah, is that okay?
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not trying to make, so if I'm going to say to you, you're going to cut this out, okay? So don't make it too complicated a piece, because that makes it all a bit too much. So keep a nice sort of sweeping thing that you could actually cut out if you want, you know, when you get to that point. And what I was going to suggest that you do is, once you've done the tracing, just get yourself a piece of paper, which I mentioned, I think, in the extra things you're going to need. Let me just get a bit of paper. And literally, you're just going to then trace onto the bit of paper. So why am I doing that and not just using the tracing paper? Well, the reason I'm doing that is so I've kept my original bit of work, so I can make more of those if I want to. And then take yourself a pencil, and you're just literally going to go over the lines, yeah, so that you make a tracing onto the paper. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do next.
Is this this particular piece going to take 2 weeks or 1 week?
2.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just giving you kind of slightly the heads up on this. This is what we'll be focusing on next time. What I really want you to do is get your background piece finished, but this is where we're headed. Okay, so yeah, get yourself armed with, you know, and if you've got one for today, just, you know, you could do your tracing now. What I found with my bit of eucalyptus is it dried out quite quickly.
Yeah.
So if you have got a bit of inspiration that you want to use, then do that now. If you've not got any inspiration and you want to create your own, please do. This is not about it, you know, being prescriptive, but it is about just getting yourself a nice shape that you can use. And again, you could do your piece of work, and if you've got access to a printer or whatever, you might even want to reduce it or enlarge it, so don't feel like you've got to keep it at this size now. The only parameter that you've got on this is that it's a 6-inch square that your piece is going to go onto, and even that actually doesn't matter, because you could have a hint of a leaf, couldn't you? It doesn't have to be the whole thing on your piece of work, or you might put a fragment of a leaf or whatever your design is. Okay, so I've gone round it all. So then you've ended up with the template. Okay, and at this point, keep it as one piece of fabric, of paper. Sorry, don't trim out now.
No.
That's what we're going to do then, is lay your template onto at least, well, 1 and if not 3 layers of fabrics. Okay, and then pin it within 1 inch of its life, because you don't want it to move. Actually inside the diagram and round the outside for now. Okay, and that's where you need to get to for next time. Does that all make sense? Any questions on that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You don't want me to cut it out ready then?
You can if you want to, yes, cut them out and be ready for them, and then we'll be into arranging and, you know, designing again next time.
Lovely.
That would be, you know, nice. So yeah, and I think what's quite nice with this is that you are making, you know, individual pieces, so they'd look really nice, wouldn't they, in the aperture of a card, or even not an aperture, just stitch around them and stitch them onto a card. You've suddenly got a really nice bespoke gift for somebody. You could do one that kind of reflects the seasons, couldn't you? And there's nothing stopping you kind of getting maybe even a sprig of yew or some kind of conifer, doing a little bit of that and making a kind of slightly more contemporary Christmas tree or something, you know. So there's lots of things you could do with this, and you could, if you wanted to, add beads and sequins, and you could do metallic threads on it, you know. Just moving forward, just always think about how much you can really, really push this particular technique. Yeah. And just really, you know, enjoy the process of it. And I like this one as well. It's relatively inexpensive, you know, to actually put together as well, which is really nice. So it's dare I say it, it's a bit of a scrap buster. Stuff you'll have around. The other thing I've been saving in that sad way that you do is I sometimes get some of the kindling for my fire in those, you know, the nylon sacks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well the one in Belper at the moment's got a really serious line in yellow, so I've been keeping that one. So that's you know, so also think about those sorts of things that you could incorporate into your work, you know, something that's got a bit of a mesh to it. Sometimes you get, don't you, onions and things in that, you know, that they could be trapped in amongst all of this.
Yeah.
And just add some more texture to it. It might be really useful with those to give you a bit of a grid. as well, so you could do some stitching onto that.
Yeah.
And obviously there is tulle, you know, bits that they use for bridal skirts or petticoats and veils and so on. So again, that's something else that, you know, if you come across it, or bits of old lace are quite nice to have as well, which is really good. So
Yeah.
so does that feel okay? So that's kind of the next part of the journey.
Yeah.
So should we have a little look at how everybody's been doing today?
It's fraying. Does that matter?
No,
Fraying.
it doesn't matter if it's phrase. No, absolutely fine. Just gonna go. Oh, lovely. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
lovely.
Louise.
Great.
Could you just go over the stitches you used on your side bits,
Yes.
please?
Right, I'm just going to switch back over to the little old camera. Bear with me a minute. Right. So on this side bit here, I have used a feather stitch, and I've got two overlapping rows of it. So there's the feather stitch in a single form,
Yeah.
and then that's got a double layer going on, and then I've also got a bit of running stitch. I've not done too many stitches on that bit,
Okay.
but you can if you want to. Don't feel you can't.
No.
So
No, I always find with my work, less is more. I mean, more is too much. You know, it's better to do less. I can always overdo it and then spoil what I've done.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So sometimes it's good just to go, yeah, it's sorted, isn't it? Yeah. I think the other thing I'd also suggest is, if you've got like a little notebook, you might think, you know what, I think X stitch would work really nicely, and make a note of it. So start to keep yourself a little, you know, thought diary or whatever, so that you know, when you come back to it, you know, perhaps with another project, then you'd actually think, oh yeah, actually that would be really nice. So it's been interesting with, you know, seeing the chain stitch, but the reverse chain stitch, because that's got a very much more kind of rounded look, hasn't it, to it, than the traditional chain stitch has. So just have a, you know, a little thought diary, or whatever you want to call it, of ideas that, you know, might spring to mind, of things that would look quite nice. And the stitches might change as well if you did a sort of seasonal thing. You know, are we stitching in a certain way with it being winter or coming into winter, against to where we would be with spring? What, you know, and obviously, you know, you've had no choice about the colours at all, but you know, there is that idea of what you would, you know, put together as layers. Yeah. The other one, you know, hopefully when the charity shop's all open again, is, you know, do you remember the old chiffon scarves?
Oh yeah.
They were really nice. So if you can get a few of those, they're fabulous to overlay this. And you could also use fabric and then overlay it with chiffon if you wanted to. So don't feel like it's all got to be gossamery, but I just wanted you to have a go at this technique. And I'm going to show you a bit where you cut it back as well next time, so just to give you another insight into how you could, you know, do this technique.
How much thread will we need next week? Because I've only got one length left. Stuff.
Have I been scringy on the thread? Well, you won't need very much, because you're just going to attach the leaves down. So
I've got the lengths of the cotton weight still.
Yes. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you should have. Yeah. When I did it, I kind of doubled what I'd used when I sent it out. So hopefully, you know, but obviously it depends on how much stitching you've done.
Very pretty thread.
Good.
Yes, the changing colour, it's lovely.
Yeah,
Yes, it is nice.
I do like a bit of variegated. It's always a one to have. Yeah. And it's one of those ones that you can quite easily get hold of these days.